In just 3 minutes, a single phrase, his own words, about his own daughter, shattered Donald Trump's composure live on national television, sending a studio full of 1,000 people into a silence so complete, so suffocating, that the only sound was the buzz of the lights overhead. The studio lights were already running hot by the time the audience filed in. That particular heat, the kind that settles into the air 20 minutes before showtime, felt different tonight, charged. The band kicked into their familiar theme, and the crowd responded the way crowds always do, clapping along on instinct, but there was an edge underneath it. Half the applause was genuine. The other half was a warning shot. Jimmy Fallon stepped through the curtain and into the spotlight, easy smile already in place, and the room surged toward him. He paced the front of the stage for a few seconds, letting the noise wash over him, arms out in that familiar welcome. "Good evening, everybody," he waved. The crowd roared back. "Wow, big night. You know who we've got. Give him a minute." He grinned wider, milking it. "He is the President of the United States, after all. Let's show him what that means." More applause. Louder now, still split. Then the announcer's voice filled the hall like a declaration of war. "Please welcome the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump." The room detonated. Half the crowd came to their feet immediately, cheering like they were at a rally. The other half clapped carefully, watching, arms drifting back to their sides. Trump strode out from the wings the way he always does. Shoulders squared, chin lifted, that wide trademark grin catching the lights and bouncing them back. He pointed into the front rows like he recognized people, waving big, mouthing thank you to no one in particular. Classic, practiced, effortless. Jimmy stepped forward to meet him. They shook hands, firm, deliberate, a fraction longer than necessary. Neither man blinked. Trump's grip tested. Jimmy matched it without a flicker. They released, sat down, and the band faded out. The lights tightened on the two chairs. For one brief, misleading second, everything looked normal. Two men, a desk between them, a room full of people waiting to be entertained. But the air already carried something else, a density, a held breath. Everyone in that room could feel it, even if they couldn't name it. This was not going to be a soft night. "Mr. President," Jimmy said, settling back, "welcome to the show." Trump nodded, grinning wide. "Great to be here, Jimmy. Tremendous crowd. Really tremendous." A chunk of the room cheered on cue. Jimmy smiled. They showed up tonight, a beat. "So, let's get into it. How's the White House treating you? Busy schedule?" Trump crossed one leg over the other, supremely comfortable. "Non-stop, Jimmy. Tremendous energy. The best people, the best deals. We are making America greater every single day." Cheers from the right side of the room. Loud, proud, immediate. Jimmy nodded. "Sounds exhausting. You ever just get a night off? Watch some TV?" Trump chuckled. "I don't need nights off. I'm always winning." A pause, grin sharpening. "You should try it sometime." The room tittered, but Trump didn't let it breathe. He leaned forward, elbows settling on his knees, eyes locking on Jimmy the way a man locks eyes when he's about to close a deal he's been rehearsing. "You know, Jimmy, I watch your show. Sometimes, when I can stomach it." He waved a hand. "But let me tell you something. You call yourself a host. I think you're more like a lonely guy begging for laughs because nobody's laughing at home anymore." The words dropped into the room like a stone into still water. One full second of pure silence, then a wave of uneasy chuckles, half forced, half shocked. A few people covered their mouths. A few others stared straight ahead, recalibrating. Trump sat back, arms spread, satisfied, the posture of a man who just scored. Jimmy didn't flinch, didn't snap. He simply let the insult sit there in the air between them, let the room feel the full weight of it, and then, slowly, almost thoughtfully, he exhaled. "Okay," he said, voice calm as a closed window. "Let's talk about real life for a second." The shift was immediate. The playful atmosphere did not just fade, it evaporated. Outside this building, people are struggling. Gas is up. Groceries are killing families. Rent has become a monthly crisis for people who are working full-time jobs. What's your message to them? Trump's smirk tightened. He straightened. "Jimmy, there are no problems in this country. None. Everything is perfect. Best economy in history. Strongest military. Borders finally secure. Tremendous success across the board." He pointed. "The only mess is people like you stirring up trouble for ratings." The room split down the middle, hard and loud and immediate. The red hat section erupted. Cheers, fist pumps, the beginning of a chant. The other side, murmurs, head shakes, a few boos cutting through the noise. The divide was no longer invisible. It was sitting right there in the open, broadcasting itself. Jimmy nodded slowly, absorbing it. "Families are telling me they're cutting back on groceries, skipping doctor visits, parents working 2 jobs just to keep the power on." He turned toward the screen behind them. "We ran a quick poll this afternoon. 10,000 viewers. One question. Are you feeling more financial stress this year than last?" The graphic appeared. Simple white text on a dark background. 72% said yes. The room shifted. Heads turned toward Trump, waiting. Trump's face tightened a fraction. Polls. Come on, you can make any poll say anything you want. I've seen your polls. Always rigged. His voice rose. The real numbers? Unemployment is the lowest it's been in decades. Wages are up. People are thriving. This country is booming. Booming like never before. The last line landed like a rally punch line. His side exploded, but the other half had gone very still. Jimmy tilted his head just slightly. When a mother in Ohio is choosing between her rent and her kid's asthma inhaler, what do you say to her specifically? I say, look at what we've built. Manufacturing is back. Energy independence. The biggest tax cuts in history. If people are struggling, maybe they need to stop listening to the complainers. He pointed again. Like you. The boos were getting louder now, mixing with the cheers into something chaotic and close. Then Jimmy reached under the desk. He didn't announce it, didn't build to it. He simply set a single sheet of paper on the desk and held it up, flat and clear, toward the cameras. We received something this morning. An internal White House memo, dated 3 months ago, from your own economic team. Marked confidential. A whistleblower sent it over. He read from the page. Persistent inflation pressures and supply chain disruptions continue to impact middle-class households disproportionately. Recommend additional messaging to counter public perception of economic hardship. The screen behind them shifted to show the memo. Key lines visible. Signatures present. White House letterhead. The studio went electric. Gasps scattered across the room like a charge jumping from seat to seat. Phones materialized in hundreds of hands. Trump shot halfway out of his chair, face going red in real time. That is fake. Total forgery. You made that up. Classic Jimmy Kimmel. Always with the tricks. He jabbed a finger forward. Your ratings must be in the gutter if you're pulling stunts like this. His supporters roared back. Fake, fake, fake. But the other half of the room was buzzing with something different now. Something that sounded less like partisanship and more like recognition. Jimmy stayed in his seat. It's on White House letterhead, Mr. President. Signatures from people currently in your administration. We verified the formatting, the email chains, the dates. If it's forged, your team is welcome here tomorrow to prove it. I'd love to have them. Trump sat back down, hard, controlled. You're twisting everything. This was planted by leakers, people who hate winning. He forced a laugh. It didn't carry. They traded blows for another few minutes. Inflation, wages, taxes, the gap between the headline numbers and what people actually felt in their wallets. Trump's voice kept rising, the boasts arriving faster, louder, as though volume alone could serve as evidence. The crowd beneath them pushed and pulled, cheers and boos rising and falling like a tide with no shore. And then Jimmy reached for his water bottle, took a slow sip, set it down, and shifted. You know what? He said, tone changing like a key change in a song. We've been talking about numbers and policy. Let's switch gears. He smiled, warm, unhurried, genuine looking. Speaking of family, how's Ivanka doing these days? She's been out there, running projects, being a mother. How's she holding up? Trump's shoulders dropped. The defensive architecture of the last 20 minutes dissolved from his face almost instantly. He settled back, crossed one leg over the other, and something real appeared. The pride of a father who cannot help himself when the subject comes up. Ivanka, she's fantastic. Smart as a whip. Smarter than most people in Washington, believe me. She's strong. She's beautiful. She's doing incredible work. Helping businesses, helping women, raising 3 beautiful kids. His voice softened on the last part. Warm in a way the room hadn't heard from him all night. I'm very proud. Very proud. A few appreciative murmurs moved through the crowd. Even people who'd been booing minutes earlier lowered their phones. The tension that had been sitting on the room's chest since Trump walked out eased, just slightly, like a fist unclenching. Trump kept going. She handles the pressure so well. The media comes after her hard sometimes, but she never complains. Tough, like her old man. He chuckled, glancing out at the audience. Light applause rolled through. Genuine this time, not divided. For the first time all night, the room could breathe. Jimmy nodded along, letting Trump talk, his face relaxed and attentive. But behind his eyes, behind the careful stillness of his expression, something else was running. Footage he'd watched that afternoon. Radio audio from the 90s, a 2006 talk show couch. Words that had been sitting in public archives for years, waiting. He'd timed the clips that morning, made sure the edits were clean. He knew exactly where this moment was going. He waited one more beat, let Trump bask. Then, casually, almost like an afterthought, he leaned in. That's great to hear. Family really is everything. A small pause. I've got one more question, something a little deeper. You mind if I go there? Trump waved a generous hand, still smiling, completely at ease. Go ahead, Jimmy. Ask anything. Family's my favorite topic. I've got nothing to hide. He settled back further, arms open, comfortable, magnanimous. A man who believed he was about to receive one more gentle pitch. Jimmy looked at him for exactly 1 second. Then, carefully, quietly, his voice low and even. "Your daughter, Ivanka." He paused. "Piece of ass." The studio froze. Not gasps. Not yet. Just a silence so total, so immediate, that it felt like the building itself had stopped. Faces went blank. Mouths hung half open. 2 phones clattered from hands somewhere in the middle rows. Trump's proud grin vanished in the space between one heartbeat and the next, eyes widening, then narrowing and fast. The crowd needed a full 2 seconds to process what they had just heard. Then it hit. A wave of shocked gasps broke across the audience. People covered their mouths. Others turned to the person next to them, whispering, "What?" loud enough for the mics to pick up. A nervous laugh or two popped up and choked out fast. The red hat section looked stunned, frozen in that particular paralysis of someone who doesn't know yet whether to defend or recoil. Trump rose from his chair so fast it scraped back against the stage floor, the sound cracking through the hall like a starter gun. "What did you just say?" His voice broke on the last word, fury splitting it clean through. He stepped forward, pointing, his whole arm shaking. "How dare you? You don't talk about my daughter like that. You don't cross that line. Ever." His chest heaved. "That is disgusting. You are disgusting. You think that's funny? You think you can just throw that out there on television?" The words tumbled out hot and fast. His supporters responded, sharp, supportive claps from the loyalists, a contingent rising to their feet. But the other side of the room was erupting in the opposite direction. Boos, shouts, someone calling out, "Let him answer." Jimmy did not stand, did not raise his voice, did not move from his chair. His hands rested easy on the desk. His face was calm, not cold, not smug, just steady. "I didn't say it, Mr. President." He paused. Let the 4 words land. "That's what you said, on the radio, years ago. Exact words." Trump's face twisted harder. "That is a lie. You made that up right now. That is sick and twisted, and you don't attack someone's family." "We actually have the clip," Jimmy said quietly. He nodded toward the production booth. The screen behind them went dark for 1 second. Then text appeared, white on black. 1990s radio interview. Unedited audio. A scratchy, dated radio intro played briefly, the particular sonic texture of analog tape digitized years later. Then a male host's voice, casual and easy. "Ivanka is growing up fast, huh? She's turning into quite a piece of ass." Laughter on the old tape. The relaxed laughter of a studio full of men in the 90s who thought they were just talking. Then Trump's voice. Unmistakable. Younger, but every cadence identical to the man standing 6 feet from Jimmy right now. "Yeah, she's something. If she wasn't my daughter, maybe I'd be dating her." More laughter on the tape. Easy, throwaway, boys being boys. The clip ended. The silence that followed was different from the first one. Heavier, more final. A low collective groan moved through the studio, starting in the middle of the room, spreading outward like a shockwave. People winced, hands pressed over faces, heads shook, slow and disbelieving. The Trump supporters sat open-mouthed, a few muttering fragments that didn't complete themselves. The rest of the room let out long, sharp exhales, boos starting low and building. Every phone in the building was pointed at the stage. Trump stared at the screen. Then he exploded. "Out of context. Completely out of context. You cherry-pick one line from 20 years ago. Twisted, edited garbage." He waved his arms wide. "We were joking around. Radio guys talk like that. It means nothing." His voice cracked on the last word, louder than intended. His supporters tried to rally. Fake news. Fake. But the sound of it was thinner now. The outrage from the rest of the room was swallowing it. Jimmy waited. Then quietly. That was the full clip. No cuts. He nodded toward the booth again. The screen transitioned. Different footage now. Standard definition. Warmer light. A morning show set. Year stamp in the lower corner. 2006. Trump on a couch next to a teenage Ivanka. Both of them smiling for the cameras. A host asking something light about family. Trump leaned toward the mic, grinning that wide grin. "I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her." He laughed right after. A big, easy, self-satisfied laugh. Ivanka smiled politely beside him, looked down for just a moment. The host laughed too, awkward, going along. The clip held on Trump's face, still chuckling, still proud. The horror hit differently the second time, harder, more certain. Groans turned into outright shouts. A woman in the front row was on her feet, pointing at the screen. "That's your daughter!" Security moved to ease her back. People were standing throughout the room now, not cheering, just reacting. Disgust and fury and confusion colliding in the air. Trump's face had gone from red to something approaching purple. He brought a fist down on the desk, hard. The water bottles jumped, and the crack of it silenced half the room. "This is a hit job," he said, voice raw. "A setup from the very beginning. You're disgusting, Jimmy, bringing my family into this filth." He pointed at the screen, then at Jimmy. "That was a compliment. People understood it then. You're the one making it sick." "It's your voice," Jimmy said. "Your words. Public record." A brief pause. "But we're not done." The screen went black again. New text, leaked audio. Former aide, 2023. Confidential source, verified. A woman's voice, calm and clear, professional. The voice of someone reading from a prepared statement. "I was in the room on multiple occasions when the president made comments about Ivanka that were inappropriate. Statements like, 'She's got the best body,' or 'if she wasn't family,' in front of staff. We were told to laugh it off, never to repeat it. It was a pattern." Trump lunged half a step toward the screen. "Lies. Total fabrication. Who is this? Show her face. She's lying. Paid off. Probably by you." He spun toward the audience, arms out. "You believe this? Come on." A few loyalists clapped back. Thin, desperate. The rest of the room was a wave. Jimmy let the audio fade. He looked straight at Trump. No smirk, no triumph. Just calm. The way a doctor is calm when they're delivering news they've already prepared for. "That's from someone who worked for you. We have date stamps, chain of custody, encrypted delivery from the source. If it's fabricated, your team can disprove it tomorrow." Trump paced now, shoes clicking against the stage floor, breathing audible. "Fake. All of it. AI. Deep fakes. You can make anybody say anything now. They've got the technology. It's computers. They're putting words in my mouth." He jabbed a finger at the frozen screen. "That voice? Not me. That video? Not real." His loyalists surged. AI, fake news, fist pumping, a chant starting, aimed, improbably, at Jimmy. The other side wasn't moving. The skepticism in their posture had shifted to something that looked more like sadness. Jimmy waited for the noise to crest and fall. "Mr. President, I understand why you'd say that. AI is genuinely scary. But these clips are from the 90s, from 2006, from 2023. Before the deep fake tools that could pass scrutiny existed." He nodded toward the screen. "We've brought in someone who can speak to that better than I can. Dr. Elena Reyes, forensic media analyst. She's joining us live." The screen split. A woman in her 40s. Composed, professional, glasses, home office backdrop. Her voice was measured and precise. "I've reviewed all materials provided by the show. The 90s radio audio, analog tape, originally digitized at the time of archiving. No synthesis markers, timestamps consistent with broadcast records. The 2006 television footage. Standard definition archival material from network files, pixel and audio spectrogram analysis shows no manipulation. The 2023 leaked recording, metadata consistent with standard smartphone audio captured on an iPhone, chain of custody verified through encrypted email from the source. No AI watermarking, no splicing artifacts. These are authentic." Trump stared at the screen. His jaw was tight. He shook his head. "Biased. Paid off. You can buy experts. Everybody knows that." But his voice was smaller now. The certainty had drained out of it, leaving something hollower behind. His supporters tried to follow him. Fewer joined. Jimmy reached under the desk one more time. Different sheet of paper. He held it up. "We also have a sworn statement from a former member of your inner circle, someone who was present for some of those comments. Her statement says, 'We were told to laugh it off in private and deny it publicly. If anyone pushed back, the instruction was to call it fake news or a setup.'" Trump stopped pacing. The shoes stopped clicking. He turned slowly, and for the first time all night, the fire in his eyes looked like it was going out. "This is betrayal," he said, voice lower, almost quiet. "My own people." He looked out at the crowd, searching for the wall of support that had been there 20 minutes ago. A few scattered claps, half-hearted. He took one shaky step back toward his chair, gripped the back of it with both hands. His knuckles whitened. "You planned every second of this," he said to Jimmy, quieter than before. "To humiliate me, to hurt my family." His eyes glistened. Anger, yes, but something underneath it now. Something the bravado had been covering all night. "You did this on purpose." Jimmy held his gaze. "I didn't make the clips. I didn't write the memo. I didn't put those words in your mouth. They were already there. Public, recorded, and people deserved to hear them." The room had gone quiet in a new way. Not the electric quiet of anticipation, the heavy quiet of something that has landed and cannot be taken back. Trump stared at the space between them for a long moment. Then, barely above a whisper, "You win tonight." He straightened, tried to reassemble the swagger, but it sat crooked on him now. He turned and walked toward the wings, slower, head lower. The big entrance in reverse. The door opened, the door closed. The sound of it echoed through the microphones. The chair across from Jimmy sat empty under the spotlight. For one full heartbeat, the studio held its breath. Then the room broke open. Cheers, boos, shouts overlapping. Half on their feet, half frozen in disbelief, the chaos of a crowd that has just watched something they can't immediately categorize. The band sat motionless, no cue, no script for this. Jimmy stayed in his seat for another moment. Then he stood, walked to the front of the stage, and raised one hand. Not to quiet the room, just to signal he was still there. The noise dropped enough for his voice to carry. "Well," he said, "when the evidence gets too real, apparently the new move is to blame the computers." A ripple of laughter started and built fast, relieved, almost grateful. "Next time someone gets caught on tape, I expect they'll blame the moon landing footage." More laughter, sharper, the tension cutting loose. "I'm just saying, it's a versatile defense." He let it settle. Then his voice dropped. "Tonight got heavy. That's what happens when words come back around. They don't disappear just because you walk away from them." He glanced at the empty chair. "That seat's still there. The questions are still there. So are the recordings." The room went quiet in a different way, respectful. A few people nodded. Then the side door cracked open. Trump, half in, half out, face still red, eyes blazing. He leaned through the gap, voice rough. "One more thing. This isn't over. You think you humiliated me? You humiliated yourself. My truth is coming out. You'll see." He jabbed a finger toward the cameras one last time. "You got nothing. This is a witch hunt, and the American people see right through it." The crowd surged with noise again, phones swinging back toward the door. Jimmy turned, reached for one last sheet of paper. "Before you go, we have something new. A public petition, signed by 12 former staffers and witnesses, including people who were present for that original radio interview. They're putting their names on it. No NDAs, no hiding. It's online right now." He held it up. "People can read it tonight." Trump's mouth opened, closed. He stared at the paper like it had teeth. Then, without a word, he stepped back. The door eased shut. This time, it stayed that way. The room came apart for the last time. Cheers and boos and stunned, shaking heads all colliding in the air at once. Jimmy walked back to center stage, waited for enough quiet to speak. "That's tonight, everybody!" He looked at the empty chair. The spotlight still hitting it, the seat still angled, as though someone might come back and fill it. Sometimes accountability looks like this, an empty seat and a lot of questions that won't go away. A small, tired smile. "Good night." The audience rose as one. The standing ovation was long and loud, and not just for the performance, for the composure, for the patience, for the long, slow building of something that couldn't be denied. The lights dimmed. Music finally found its way back in. Soft. But the image that stayed was the chair, empty, lit, silent, saying more in its vacancy than any of the shouting had managed. Backstage, after the cameras cut, Jimmy sat in his dressing room scrolling through his phone. The clips were already everywhere. Millions of views, trending worldwide. Every late-night host and pundit, an ordinary person with a phone already reacting. Then a message from a producer. New leak just dropped from Ivanka's team. Internal email. She's distancing herself from the comments, won't defend them publicly, wants no part of the fallout. Jimmy stared at the screen for a moment, then set the phone down. Outside, the internet was on fire. Hashtags multiplying, journalists already promising more, watchdogs circling, and somewhere in the current of it all, a quiet signal was spreading. More documents, more witnesses, more people deciding that staying quiet was no longer the only option. It hadn't ended with the credits. It had barely begun. Words once thrown out casually, in radio studios and on morning show couches, had grown claws. They reached back across the years, grabbed hold, and would not let go. And as the stage lights went dark, one thing was unmistakable. Nobody in that room, nobody watching from home, nobody whose phone buzzed with a clip that night, walked away untouched. The haunting had only just started. Subscribe if you believe the words we speak never fully disappear. They just wait.